Hey guys, welcome to another video on Zero Gravity Thrills. I'm William, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking all the roller coasters at Cedar Point. I did a video about this almost 6 months ago, but I decided to make a new one because my opinions have changed on so many of these rides, and I feel like I have a better way of ranking them. So, without further ado, I'm going to get started on ranking all 17 coasters at Cedar Point. And before I begin, these are all my opinions, so if you don't agree, I'm sorry. You'll just have to make your own. These are my opinions. Just to get that out of the way, here we go. Number 17, Wilderness Run. Now, when I went to Cedar Point, I actually did not ride this one. It's a little kiddie ride built by Intamin. In fact, it was Intamin's first roller coaster, built in 1979. This looks like a pretty good kiddie coaster, but I mean, it's a kiddie coaster, so what do you expect? It's not going to rank any higher than number 17. So it goes up that lift hill, got this little curved drop, pick up a little bit of speed. Then it goes into a little drop right here, and then a little airtime hill. You probably don't get any airtime. I wouldn't know. I didn't ride it. And then you get go up, and then you go through this little turn again back into the station. So that's Wilderness Run. Next time I go to Cedar Point, I'll try and get the credit, but it's okay. I'll move on to number 16, which is Woodstock Express. Again, this is another coaster that I did not ride when I went to Cedar Point, but I've ridden clones of it, so I kind of know what to expect. Like, clones are the Barnstormer at Disney, Woody Woodpeckers, and the Hippogriff at Florida. Those are the other clones, and the Dragon at Legoland. I've ridden those ones, and this is the exact same ride, and it's actually a pretty fun ride. This drop here, it's decently forceful. You get a little bit of positives, and then you kind of float down into a few sweeping curves. Nothing too great, but for a kiddie coaster, it's pretty good. I definitely recommend this ride, even though I didn't ride it. It's still a good ride, for sure. Then you go into another curve, and finally another one. And this coaster is built by Vekoma. I'm not sure what year. I think it was late 1990s or early 2000s, somewhere around there. Okay, now coming in at number 15, we got Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Now, again, I ain't ride this one at Cedar Point, but it looks decent, kind of slow, not too much to it. It's a long pre-lift. I'll skip to the actual part. So right there. So you climb up this lift hill. It got lots of straight track, as you can see. It doesn't look too exciting, but it looks a little bit better than the other two that I showed you. And the problem is it could be a little rough. It looks kind of rough because it's an Aero built in 1969, so it's quite old. It's over 50 years old. Got a little helix there, a little more straight track, as you can tell. This part looks like the best part of the ride. This drop right there, and then the glide over the water. That looks pretty fun. That little helix here looks kind of rough. Nothing too special. I've ridden other mine trains, so I kind of know what to expect on this one. And this one doesn't look any better than any of the other ones I've ridden. The best mine train I've ridden was Big Thunder Mountain at Disney. But this is definitely nowhere near as good because this one doesn't have much theming and it looks pretty bumpy. So you climb up the second lift hill. Again, like, this is a really slow ride. It like crawls through the layout. It's more of a kiddie coaster. And when I went to Cedar Point, it had like a 20-minute line, and I'd rather ride other good coasters rather than wasting my time at this one. You got this little curved drop right there. Basically, basically the POV is basically exactly what I'm showing you, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. Oh. Okay, number 14 is Corkscrew. Now, this is an aerodynamics looping coaster built in 1978. I think 1970. Shoot, I think it was 1978. One of those years, 1976. I don't know, around there. But it was the first ever coaster to go upside down 3 times. This coaster's rough. It's okay. The first drop, you get some decent air, and the first airtime hill is actually very strong ejector. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This lift hill is very slow. It's only like 80 feet tall, this ride, but it takes forever to climb up. But you get a decent view at the top. You could see the midway. Then if you look over to your left, you'll see the hotel breakers and all the parking. And you could even see off to the beach. So it's a good lift hill. It just takes a long time. All right, so we're at the top, and then you go down this little drop. It's nothing too special. You get a little bit of airtime. It's not steep at all. It just picks up speed. And this is the airtime hill I was talking about. It flings you out of your seat. You go into this one vertical loop. It's actually a pretty good loop. Pretty intense, I'd say. More intense than lots of other loops in this park. Then this is the worst part of the ride. It kind of curves, kind of gets some headbanging here. It goes over the pathway. It looks really good, but it isn't the best because it's really rough. But still, it's not a bad ride. And then this part, you just kind of glide around. It's a really short ride. It's only got a few good parts to it, but the bad parts are not the best. But I'm happy Cedar Point has kept this one around because it's a very historic coaster. So coming in at number 13, we have Blue Streak. Blue Streak, I rode this ride one time when I went to Cedar Point, and I rode towards the back, and I'm a pretty skinny guy, so when I pulled down the restraint, it was a few inches away from me. So when I went over those hills, I went flying. Like, it was insane. And I'm pretty sure this is the oldest coaster in the park, opened in 1964, and it's themed after a high school band or a high school team somewhere in Ohio. So that's pretty cool. This is also the only wooden roller coaster at the park. There's lots of hybrids at the park, like Cedar Creek Mine Ride, Gemini, and Steel Vengeance. But this is the only actual wooden coaster. And it's a really nice looking ride. It looks really cool with the blue painted wood. It's a airtime machine, but it's a little rough. That's what I'll say. So you come down this drop right there. Pretty good. Going to this, that's the best airtime hill right there. You get massive ejector. Again, that one's amazing. This one kind of, it doesn't give you any airtime. It's kind of like a little breather. And then you go up into this turnaround. You can see all the parking lot straight ahead. And then you can see the front entrance and gatekeeper. Gatekeeper's not there on this POV. And then it drops down. A few more airtime hills. This one was a little weak, but I remember this next one's pretty strong. And this last one. Or no, not this one. The next one is very strong. And then you glide right into the brake run. Airtime wise, it's good, but other than that, it's just an okay coaster. It's nothing that you're gonna keep wanting to ride, but it's a good ride just to hop on. And I only rode this once because it also had a 20-minute line. Which was one of the longer waits when I went to Cedar Point, except for some of the big ones. But I'd rather ride the other 12 coasters that I have ahead of this. So coming in at number 12, we have Iron Dragon. This is an aerodynamics swinging coaster. It's one of the only few ones remaining. This and Vortex are the only two that I have ridden. But there are other ones, including the Bat at Kings Island and Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain. And there's been lots of these coasters getting removed, like Big Bad Wolf and Eagle's Fortress in South Korea. Now Vortex is much more intense and much faster, and it's more fun than Iron Dragon. But I rode this ride twice, once in the front, once in the back. This drop right here in the front is like really slow, but in the back you actually get a decent pop of airtime. Then you kind of glide through the trees. It swings a little bit, but not compared to like Vortex at all. Vortex flings you. This one kind of just like glides. But it's a nice scenic ride through the trees, and it's very fun. There's Rukuru right there. It's actually Mantis at the time, but now it's Rukuru. You keep gliding through the trees. Go over Top Thrill Dragster right there. I mean, this is a fun coaster, but it's not one you're going to want to ride over and over and over again. Okay, so you glide up into the second chain lift. Now, the first part of the ride is much slower, but the second part of the ride is actually decently fast. So you kind of go up this chain lift again. right parallel to the other lift hill, as you can see. You kind of go down this curved drop. You get a little bit of swing one way, and then it kind of curves to the other way. You get another nice bit of swinging, and then you get another pop of swinging right there. This is the most intense part of the ride right around here. And then you go over the fog kind of lagoon, kind of. It's really nice. And then you swoop down, go over it again. This is a very fun part of the ride, easily the best part. And then you kind of just glide, swing, and then go right into the brake run. Definitely not the best ride, but it is fun for what it is. And number 12 at Cedar Point. Okay, so number 11 is Gemini. Now this is an aerodynamics racing coaster built in 1979 or 78. And it's a racing coaster. I just said that, but I don't know the style of ride. It feels like it's a big mine train on steroids, if that makes sense. So you kind of, as you can see, there's another side to it. I think we're on the blue side right now, but the other side is the red side. And this lift hill is very big. It's only, well, 125 feet tall, but it takes a long time because, I mean, this coaster takes forever to climb up the lift hill. It's really slow. So, you just climb up this lift hill. It's a very fun lift hill. You can see great views. Lots of the other coasters at the park. You can look off into the distance at like the Hotel Breakers. You can see Magnum and even the beach. So that's really nice. Overall, this coaster was very good. It's a little rough in parts, but the airtime is great. And this drop right here, it is great. Like, it sends your heart flying up in the air. Like, okay, so here it goes. This drop is super underrated. And then you got some good head choppers there. And you climb up into this turn. This part right here isn't the most exciting. It's a little slow. Like, there's lots of dead spots on this ride. But the good parts are really good. This is fun when the other side passes you. And then you drop down. This airtime hill, I remember, gives a decent pop of floater. And this is another turn. This is where, like, the train beside you, you get to race. Another good moment right here. Nothing too forceful, just a little fun turn. And then you drop down. And then this is the best part of the ride, other than maybe the drop. It's this airtime hill right into a head chopper. And it comes out of nowhere. It feels like when you go up, it's only 20 feet, and then you drop down like 50 feet. It feels like that. It's really good. Really good ejector. And then the final wide turn. Then you kind of go into a few more hills down right here. This one I remember is a little pretty good. And this is another really good hill right there. And this helix is fun, but it does kind of shake your head around. It's a little rough, but it's not too bad. Overall, this coaster is like it's a really good family coaster. It's not too thrilling for like too many people, but it's not tame either. So it's a good balance of like a mixture of good coasters. Okay, now coming in at number 10, just making the top 10, we have Valraven. This is the B&M dive coaster at the park, and it's one of the newest coasters built in 2016. It's built by B&M, and it's a very fun ride. I've ridden Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland, which is my home park, and that ride is much better than this one because it holds you up at the top longer and just feels like a more complete ride. But don't get me wrong, this one is still very good. This lift hill is quite steep, and it goes up pretty quick, actually, and you get a good view because you're right along the water. And then as soon as you you get to the top, which will take 10 seconds or so, so it's just climbing up right now, and it's 223 feet up, so it climbs up here pretty quick. All right, so we're basically up at the top now. All right, and it's got a really nice view. This is one of the best parts of the ride because of the view. The view is so good. And then you kind of curve around, and then you could see the beach right ahead, and it looks amazing. And then you could see the midway below you. This is such a good drop right here. So you hang over the edge. You look down, not as long as Yukon Strikers, but still pretty long. And then you plummet down this drop. You get some good airtime over it. Intense valley there. Go into a floaty inversion, Immelman. and then you go up into like a upwards kind of helix, and then you go into the mid-course brake run. I wish that first part had a little bit more to it, but that's okay. The second part makes up for it. Then you go into another mini dive. This one's probably about 100 feet and 80 degrees steep, and it's also very good. Just like the first one, not as good though. Dive loop there, pretty good. This is a really good roll. It's nice and floaty. And if you sit on the very far right or left side, you actually get some good airtime through it. You go into this airtime hill, gives absolutely zero airtime, but it looks good, so. And then you slide into the brake run. Overall, a good coaster. Nothing amazing, but it still is very good. And if this was at a normal park, it would easily crack the top 5. But since it's at Cedar Point, it barely makes the top 10. Now coming in at number 9, we have Rougarou. And this is a B&M floorless. It used to be called Mantis, built in 1996. And it was renamed to Rougarou in 2015 and got replaced with B&M sit-down trains rather than the stand-up ones. This was my most ridden coaster at Cedar Point because for the most part, it didn't have a line. I could just walk right on, and I stayed in my seat. I rode it 8 times, and I got a really good feel for this ride. Now, I was going in expecting this ride to be really fun, and I came out like just as good. Like the opinions that I came out with were just as good as what I went in with. Like it's a very good ride. Um, this is like one of my first B&M looping coasters actually. This is my third B&M looper, and it definitely didn't disappoint me. You get a great view of the midway climbing up this lift hill. You get a great view. Basically every coaster at Cedar Point gives you a great view, but this one is no exception. Go into this nice little turn, and then you plummet down this drop. In the front row, you don't get any airtime. Back, you kind of get a little bit of floater, and then you pull up into this tight inversion right there. Go into a dive loop right here. And then you kind of go into this weird kind of helix thing over the station. It's actually one of the best parts of the ride. You get a good near miss on a lamp there for some reason. This is the best part of the ride. I think the incline loop flings you through it, and this is another good off-axis kind of airtime transition. Slam into the brake runs, a little bit of headbanging there. You drop down, go into this corkscrew. The corkscrew is probably the roughest part of the ride, but it still is okay at least. Go up into this kind of high corner. This is a really good part of the ride. Nice little whip right to the side. And then this part kind of dies down. Still is fun, but it's nothing too special. Then you go right into the brake run. I love this location of this ride. How it goes kind of over like a little lagoon, like a swamp. And the queue line is also, I think the queue line is very nice on this ride because it goes like right in between the ride. And to me, this is one of the best looking coasters at Cedar Point because of the colors, and I just feel like it looks amazing, this coaster, especially at night, I think. Okay, now coming in at number 8, we have another B&M. This is the third one in a row, and it's Gatekeeper, the B&M wing coaster at the park. This is a very good ride. I wanted to put it higher, but I just feel like it's not as good as some of the other ones. But it's a great ride. It's very unique having sitting on the side of the train rather than above or below. And you get an amazing view. As you can tell off to your left, you can see the whole lake. Climbs up quite tall. It's a very good part right here. This one also has the B&M vest restraints. It's pretty tight on you, but they're very comfortable. I like them. They do take out airtime, but that's okay. And then you go down this wing over drop. It's a very unique drop. I actually really like it. I love this wing over drop, and then you kind of pull up into this Immelman, a little forceful. Nothing too crazy though. Airtime hill, it's okay airtime. It's nothing crazy, but it's not bad either. You go into this corkscrew, decent whip on it. And then you go into the 0G roll. This is probably the best inversion right here. Maybe this or the wing over drop. And you go into this incline dive loop. If you're in the back row, you kind of get flung over here. This is probably the most intense part of the ride. Then you go into this very slow 0G roll. And then every everything after this part, this mid course, it's okay. I mean, this drop off, you don't get any airtime really at all. And you kind of go into this little helix. It feels like if you were sitting on the left side, like it feels like you could touch the ground. Go over this little airtime hill, absolutely no airtime. Then you glide into the brake run. Overall, a pretty good ride, but nothing amazing. But I still love Gatekeeper. It's easily up in my top 20 coasters, and I've ridden 64, so it's a very good ride. Number 7, Magnum XL 200. Now, when I went to Cedar Point, I didn't know what to think about this ride. I was excited, but I was also kind of nervous because I heard it was really rough. And as soon as I got off of it, I was like, it was okay, but it was just too rough. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, wow, this ride was just awesome. This lift hill, I'm not even kidding. It feels like a minute at least to go up. It's very long, but at least you get a great view because you're right parallel to the lake. So I thought this ride was going to be, like, I didn't know what to expect. Like I've seen POVs, I just didn't know if I would like it or not. As soon as I got off, I just said I didn't like it, but I think it's grown on me quite a bit. Like when I went to Cedar Point, I was like, what should I ride, this or say Gatekeeper? And I was like, oh, I'll just do Gatekeeper because I like Gatekeeper more. But thinking of it now, I'd rather ride Magnum because it's more unique and it's just a very, very fun ride. It's rough, so be prepared for that. But if you like rough rides, this one is for you because it is very good, except the roughness, which I don't love about it. But this drop is amazing in the back row. It's nothing too steep, but you get some good whip over, and it's a very, you pick up lots of speed. This airtime hill, absolutely zero airtime, and then you kind of curve. This part's a little shaky. What I find is like the straight sections of this ride are actually smooth. It's just when it starts banking, like this part's kind of rough because it's always banking and turning. So this is probably the roughest moment, but it's nothing too intense right here. It's probably the weakest part of the ride. Then you kind of turn up into this tunnel, get some little airtime hills. These ones are okay, but the ones coming up, those ones are amazing. Kind of you get prepared for the finale. So you get, I think, 4 back-to-back hills. That one's good. They progressively get better. That one's even better. This one, you are absolutely launched out of your seat. And then this one, you are even more launched because you're in a tunnel. And then you go up one more time, slam into the brake run, ending your ride on Magnum. The first part of the ride is very good. Like the drop is amazing. The turnaround and that part's okay, but the final few airtime hills is really what puts this ride this high up on this list. And it's also a very good looking ride. It just looks great. And also the lift hill sound is amazing. This ride just is classic. It's a classic hypercoaster. It's the original hypercoaster actually, built in 1989. So it's over 30 years old, which is crazy. Overall, I really love this ride. I've only rode it once, which I don't know why I did. I was just kind of scared to go back on because I didn't want to like get a headache on it because it was kind of rough. But I regret it so much. I wish I rode this one way more. Okay, so now coming in at number 6, we have Raptor. This is the final B&M on this list, and this is a great coaster. You kind of start off with this little drop right here, and you kind of turn up into this lift hill. Again, it's a good lift hill, but it's a very fun ride. It was built in 1994 by B&M. It's really old. It's actually 26 years old, and it was a very fun ride. So it's slowly going up this lift hill right here. You get a good view of the midway. Nice and slow lift hill. Yeah, alright. Now we're at the top. You kind of crest down to this little pre-drop right here. And then you get whipped one way down this drop. And then halfway through it kind of evens out, which kind of gives you a little pop of airtime depending on where you're sitting. You pull out into this very tight inversion, very fast-paced, very intense inversion. This is a great zero-G roll. It flings you around. You don't get much airtime, but it absolutely flies through it. And then this cobra roll, if you're in the front row, flings you on the first side. If you're in the back row, flings you on the second part of this cobra roll. And then you kind of curl up into this slow helix up into the mid-course brake run. And if you get a ride where the mid-course is off, the second half is insane. And then you kind of go down the second drop. It's like a curve drop. Go into this first corkscrew right there. Very whippy, very cool. It looks really cool, especially when you're in the back rows, seeing all the other rows in front of you get whipped over the top. And then you go into this like leg crushing helix. Like it feels like your toes are getting, or like feet are getting absolutely like they're gonna fly off. It feels like that. And then you go up into this final turn. Then you get yanked into the brake run. You kind of get some head banging there, but that's okay. Overall, Raptor's a great ride, and it would be an easy number 1 or 2 or even 3 at most parts. But Cedar Point has such a good lineup. It's number 6. Okay, so now coming in at number 5, we have Wicked Twister. Now this coaster is the most underrated ride I've ever been on, I think. It is so much fun. That launch is amazing, and everything about it is so good. So you first start off with that launch, 0 to 40 in 2 seconds, I think. Go up this spiral. It's very fun. The backward spirals are much better. And you get launched backwards again, and you fly up another spike. And you're right on the water on this ride, so it's a very cool sensation. And then you go up again, another spike. This is the third time going up the spike. And then you go backwards, and then you go up the spike again. This is the best part right here, because then you start spinning and you can see the funnel if you're sitting in the back row of the train. And then you drop down again, you lose a little bit of speed, and you go up again. It's kind of repetitive, this ride, but I love it. I rode this at least, I think, 5 or 6 times, and every time the launch impressed me, and then that backward spike blew my mind. It was such a fun ride. I heard talk about them removing this ride, and I bet they better not, because I love this ride so much. Easily the most underrated coaster I've ever ridden, and 100% worth your time at Cedar Point. Now coming in at number 4, we got Top Thrill Dragster. This coaster, unfortunately, I did not ride when I was at Cedar Point, which is very upsetting because it was one of my most anticipated rides. I was a little nervous to go on it because I haven't been on anything this scary, but I ended up not riding it, so that was unfortunate. But it looks like a great ride, amazing launch, first ever Stratocoaster, so it's over 400 feet tall, 420 feet to be exact, 0 to 120 miles an hour in just under 4 seconds. Insane launch, and everything about this ride just looks insane. I went end of August of 2019, so it was closed when I went, which, like I said, was really upsetting. But I'm going to show you the POV anyway. So you just sit on the launch track, waiting for the launch, and then the countdown goes, and you absolutely fly down the launch track. Insane. It looks insane. Then you go up this top hat kind of thing. It looks like you get some great airtime over the top. And then you plummet down this 420-foot spiral, which looks like one of those on Wicked Twister, but even better because it's so much higher. And then you kind of glide down the finale that slows you down. This ride's not the longest. It's only 17 seconds long, but what it gives you is insane. With a great launch, a great top hat, and some amazing speed, what is there not to love? Easily one of the best coasters in the park. But I couldn't put it ahead of the top 3 because I think these top 3, even though Top Thrill Dragster looks amazing, I think the top 3 I prefer than Dragster. Okay, so coming in at number 3, we got Millennium Force. Now this coaster is insane. I've only ridden 2 Giga coasters, this and Leviathan, but this one absolutely destroys Leviathan. Leviathan's a great ride, don't get me wrong, but Millennium Force, everything about it is insane. That lift hill, easily the best lift hill I've ever been on, because you're right parallel to Lake Erie. It's a cable lift hill, and everything about it is great. It opened in 2000, and it's the oldest Giga coaster. And it's crazy to think that this coaster is over 20 years old. And you get a great view. Do you see, like, it's beautiful. You plummet down this amazing drop. Get some nice speed right there. Good overbank. Then you curve down, go into a high speed turn into a tunnel. And then you go up into the first big airtime hill. This one gives you good sustained flow ejector. It feels like it's lasting for 4 seconds or 5 seconds, so that's very good. And you kind of go down into this overbank part. This part's not intense at all. This is very nice gliding through the trees. And then you go into this other overbank. This is another great overbank. Then you curve into this other overbank right there. And then you go up into this nice airtime hill. This one's much smaller than the other one, but it feels a little better than the other one. More sustained, I think, or less sustained, but it's very good. Go into a tunnel. Amazing airtime hill right beside the space station. You fly into a straight section with so much speed. Go into another overbank, and then you slowly slam into the brakes. This coaster is amazing. It's the third best coaster I've ridden. And funny enough, it's actually the third best coaster at Cedar Point, which shows that my top 3 is actually just full of Cedar Point coasters. Cedar Point's lineup is stacked, and Millennium Force at any other park would be an easy number 1. But since it's at Cedar Point, it's number 3. I had a tough time putting this one or the number 2 spot. I thought both of these coasters were very, very close, but I think I like number 2, which is Maverick. I like this one a little bit more because it's more of an intense ride over Millennium Force. So you start off with, I only rode this ride 3 times, and I rode Millennium Force 5. But I rode this one 3 times. I rode it in the back, and I don't think I got a front row, but I got like a second row. You go up into this nice little lift hill. It's actually, like it's a launch lift hill, but you don't really feel it. And this drop right here is insane. In the back row, it feels like you're getting whipped over, then you're cresting already in a second. It feels like a car crash. And then you go into this whip, insane. Another whip. You get some airtime through it. This is a great ejector airtime hill right there. You go into this part. It's nice whippy right there. Second inversion. I wish they replaced one of these inversions with an airtime hill, but that's okay. And you curve into the brake run. Or shall I say a launch, actually. So it kind of slows down. You get a little show in here. And then you get blasted off 0 to 70 miles an hour in just 3 seconds. It's a great launch. I've probably been on better launches, but it's a great launch anyway. Go up into this nice turn. Go right beside the water. You get nice little float right there. And then you get absolutely yanked one way. And then you go this through this thing, stangle dive, absolutely yanked left. Another quick ejector pop. And you slide right into the final brake run. This coaster is insanity. Some people may think, oh, this ride looks like a family coaster. It doesn't look intense at all, but just ride it. It is insane. Easily the most intense coaster I've ridden, and it's definitely the best coaster. Actually, not the best coaster because it's at number 2, but one of the best coasters I've ridden, and easily worth your trip to Cedar Point. But it's not number 1. Because coming in at number 1, we have Steel Vengeance, the 2018 RMC that took over Main Street. This coaster is phenomenal. I don't think there's many coasters that can be better than this. You go up this loud lift hill. Like, this lift hill is so loud. And then I only rode this ride once, which was very sad because it always had a 2-hour line, and it was closed both times for early entry, which was unfortunate. But I'm happy I got on it once because it was easily the best ride I've ever ridden. You go up this kind of nice lift hill, extremely loud, like I said. And then you just go over this drop right there. I don't really remember the drop being amazing, but it was definitely good because I only rode it once. But it was good. And a little ejector pop, very good. Go up into this kind of sustained airtime hill right there. And this part's a little overrated, the Outer Bank hill. It's very fun, but I don't think it's amazing airtime. Nice little ejector pop there. Amazing roll right there. You go into a little off-axis thing, and then I don't even know what that element is, like a snake dive or something. A few more ejector pops, and right into the mid-course. One thing about this ride is I wish it had a 0G stall or an outer banked wave turn like Wildfire does. But other than that, it's amazing. A few more ejector pops. Go into, this is probably my favorite airtime part right here. You kind of like bank outwards and you cut in. And you go into a nice overbank over this like final brake run. Amazing 0G roll. You get some great speed through it and airtime, and then more airtime hills, of course. And then you got this kind of wave turn. Get some airtime on it. And then you go into a final inversion right there. Absolutely insane. You go into another overbank. And you go into the finale, which is 6 little ejector pops. Not sustained at all, but you kind of go flying out of your seat. Like, it's insane airtime. And then you slam into the brake run, ending my favorite coaster at Cedar Point and my favorite ride of all time. Now, that was my list of my top 17 coasters at Cedar Point. I'd love to know your opinions on your favorite rides at Cedar Point, and comment below like how you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you want to see other videos like this. Let me know if you like what kinds of videos you want in the future, and make sure to give this video a big like. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.